Welcome to Our English. I am Priscilla here in the United States, and I'm so pleased to have my current guests from Trinidad. Kevin, will you introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you very much. My name is Kevin Liverpool. I currently work as the administrator of the Caribbean Male Action Network,
Woohoo.
CariMAN.
Very nice, and we'll put all your links in the description below. And Miss Khadijah, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Khadija Pierre. I am the country co-coordinator for the Trinidad chapter of CariMAN.
Wow, this is amazing. And you all seem so down to earth, so humble. But what you do is just touching lives everywhere. So tell me, either one, what inspired you to go along with this initiative, to start the initiative, and to do the work that you do?
All right, so I can start at the top. CariMAN is a regional organization that links individuals and NGOs that work with men and boys, but not just work with men and boys as an end in itself, but work with men and boys to promote gender equality and to end violence against women and girls.
I love that. And like you said, it's not just, women and girls, it's all humans. We all need to feel safe. We all need to feel protected. So Khadijah, did you want to add anything?
Chris, well, for me, I'm originally a youth advocate in terms of youth development, and I've also been an advocate for sexual reproductive health and rights for about 10 years.
Oh,
So I
wow.
started very young, yeah. And fortunately, I was able to get, into the Institute for Gender and Development Studies, and there's where I was introduced to CariMan. And,
Oh.
yeah, exactly. And I was offered this opportunity to be part of CariMan and to be part of the movement. And, following what Kevin said, is important that in terms of the feminist movement and, movement for gender equality, that we really do engage men and boys. And we engage them in a way that is constructive, that's respectful, and, to help them not only understand how it's important for them to be part of the movement, but also how gender inequality and even the patriarchy affects them.
Yeah, and
Wow.
Priscilla,
Yes.
some research was done in 2018 in Trinidad and Tobago by the Inter-American Development Bank, and they researched a little over 1,000 women,
Hmm.
and it was found that 1 in 3 of the women interviewed reported of having been a victim of intimate partner violence within the past year of the study. And since then, there have been repeats of that study across different Caribbean countries by the UN, by IDB, by UNFPA, and those statistics remain consistent across the Caribbean that 1 in 3 women experience some sort of violence in their lifetime.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
And I believe it because I also know women in my close circle that have experienced this, and they also don't know how to say it, how to
Yeah.
present this topic, how to be vulnerable, like you said, Kevin, before. So I believe that. And what would you say? What would your message be to help these statistics go down?
Yeah, so oftentimes when we have very horrific events, such as
Mm.
the murder of a woman, and we experience that too frequently in Trinidad,
Hmm.
oftentimes we have this cry from the general public that men ought to do better because it's usually at the hands of men that women die, right? I remember a study done by the United Nations in 2017, and this is a global study, found that the home was actually the most dangerous place for women
Mm.
because most of the femicides that occurred within the home and were at the hands of someone known to the woman, whether it's the intimate partner or family member.
Hmm.
So oftentimes we hear this call that men ought to do better. So at CariMan and the team at CariMan decided this time, instead of just making the call that men should do better, we're going to take it a step further and present a very clear and measurable way in which men can improve. So that's what led us to create what we call the Men's Pledge that was launched in Trinidad and Tobago and will be rolled out in the Caribbean over the coming months. And Khadija could go a little bit more into the pledge.
In terms, and yes, in terms of the pledge specifically creates a way in which men can sort of follow initiatives that are constructive in ending gender-based violence, and then also in terms of their behavior when it comes to women. So for instance, the first initiative on the pledge is to have peaceful relationships. We've seen too many instances of intimate partner violence in terms of women. Recently we had a woman who was killed, and then her husband hung himself,
Oh,
and the 7-year-old, son of them was witness to that tragedy. So the pledge comes in a way in which it helps guide men. It's like a tool you can use, because sometimes you find men say, "What can I do? What is there that we can do?" They feel stuck. They feel as though, yes, we were seeing that this is a problem. How can we engage? How can we now begin to help? How can we become allies? And that is what this pledge means for us. It's a way of not only, holding men accountable, but also helping them, to
yes.
change toxic behaviors that unfortunately has resulted in a lot of women losing their lives.
Yeah,
And in
yeah,
addition to that, we have to also think about the children, like you said, who are
Okay.
witnessing these things. And then a lot of the adult trauma comes from childhood trauma. And you don't know how to channel that. You don't know how to express that. You don't know how to communicate that. And that is kind of what leads to that kind of ignorant behavior, because you don't know how to be vulnerable, like Kevin says, how to really say, you know what, this is how I'm feeling. Can we talk about it? So I think this tool, that's the reason why I got in touch with you, is because I saw the pledge and I said, you know what, everybody needs to hear about this. Everybody needs to participate in it. And I'm so grateful for you all to be here to share this with me, because I want to come to Trinidad. I want to go on vacation, and I want to feel safe. But at the same time, it's not just strangers, like Kevin said, it's people in the home, people that who are also causing harm. So I think with the statistics and the stereotypes, this pledge will help to have everybody on the same page, where we all have the same information, we all know how we need to behave. And, at the end of the day, it's what we are taught as children that comes into our adult experience. So, working with those boys, I think, is phenomenal. So I applaud you both very, very
thank you,
much.
Dr. Gray.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
So we'll have the pledge on the website, right? On your
Yes.
website, and then
Yes.
we will share. And anything else you all need, you let me know. I'm here for you. I'm not physically in Trinidad, but my heart is always, always there,
Oh,
you know?
that's
So,
fine.
any last message for our viewers?
Yeah, so go ahead, Khadija.
Oh, thank you. So, for me, it was I want people to understand that this is not an attack on men.
Right.
This is actually our way of helping men find more healthier ways to engage with these issues, finding a way in which they can find some sort of light or clarity as it,
Mm-hmm.
especially what is happening. I don't even think they even understand why these things are happening, why certain things are occurring in terms of gender-based violence, in terms of intimate partner violence, in terms of child sexual abuse. And I think, it's not an attack on them. It's more so of us trying to find a way to help them be
Right.
part of this movement and to curb this issue. Because I believe that gender-based violence is a pandemic. We speak about COVID and COVID being this pandemic, but really and truly women are dying. Femicide has become too much of a regular thing within our region, and it's high time now that we look at different avenues in which we can really nip it in the butt.
And I also look at this as a way to pave the
Exactly.
way for future generations
Exactly.
to look back and say, this is what was done, but look what is being done, to then
Exactly.
have a successful future, successful relationships, successful communication, and just to understand that we are all human. We're not perfect, we have flaws, but there are better ways to go about making yourself heard and making your feelings known, you know. And the best quote that I heard was, my feelings have feelings, you
Exactly.
know.
Exactly.
That was
And
beautiful.
and I'm happy you said that because I oftentimes feel as though too, that's one of the main reasons as well. When you have toxic masculinities in terms of how men express themselves, and you're a man, you're not supposed to cry, you're not supposed to react, you're not supposed to be emotional, you're not supposed to have those type of feelings, then what do you leave now for them?
Hmm.
How are they now going to express themselves, and how does that even impact their mental health? So that's why we continuously say this is not, an attack on you. This is actually us trying to fight a system that is also causing you pain, and is also making you less than the potential that you can be as a
Hmm.
person, as a human being, and of course as a man and a boy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, that mental state that you just mentioned, do you know there's so many people who have mental issues, but they look very normal on the outside. But whatever's going on in there and not being able to express it, you know, will kind of come out in anger. It's like that, you know, what do they call it? The last draw, you know? So I totally love what you just said, that it's not an attack. It's a way to help us all. Very nice.
And if I could just,
Absolutely.
build on what Khadija shared, and it's so important that we understand it's not an attack on men, because oftentimes people come out and say, well, everything is about women and girls. What about the men? But at CariMAN, we see the issue of men's violence from three different standpoints. First, we have the issue that is right in front of us as men's violence against women, but we also have men's violence against other men
Hmm.
and men's violence against himself. And we don't see these as disconnected, but we see that each type of violence, creates and maintains the others. So as
Mm.
Khadija mentioned, it's all supported by a system that says, you know, the only legitimate emotion that a man can express is anger. Men not supposed to be caring, men not supposed to be quote unquote soft. The only thing so the messages that we get, the only thing that we can be legitimately is angry, and violent. And we use violence as a mechanism of control. So
I feel that's key. I was actually thinking that when Khadija mentioned mental state and mindset, and I was thinking about that. You know, it's a form of control as well. But who are you really controlling? You know?
But when you have ideas of gender roles and identities, and what is superior and what is not superior, so oftentimes we speak about in terms of masculinities, and we see femininity as an inferior state, femininity as the lesser than rather than understanding that it's more so equally or even as conjunction as important to have those two spectrums on there. Because if you continuously tell boys, toughen up, don't cry, you're supposed to be stronger, you're supposed to provide, then how does that position them in relation to what Kevin just said? You see in terms of even gang violence, right? You see that these young men, I am a man, how am I going to position myself, how am I going to claim my masculinity? Okay, I'm providing, but how can I provide? Maybe I can sell drugs, maybe I can join a gang, and that way, that makes me a man, that makes me feel powerful, that gives me power, because in other instances they may not be educated, they may not be at a financial stability, they may not have financial stability. So how can I now, as a man, where do I fit in, how do I now feel this power that people speak about? So that is where we're coming from. We're understanding that this system that we have, that is here, this patriarchy, has created a lot of unhealthy, a lot of just not right ways in which we conduct ourselves,
It
and
doesn't
and
serve
it
us,
doesn't
you
serve
know?
us
Hmm.
anymore. It never served us to begin with, to be frank, and now we need to shift, we need to change.
You know,
It's
Priscilla,
2021, you know? We are
Exactly.
all intelligent people, whether you're educated or not, you have some common sense, right?
yeah.
Kev?
Yeah, I'm just flowing off of what Khadijah said again. I grew up in a time where boys would be belittled, including
Mm,
myself. We would be belittled, um, if we are not competent enough, whether it's on the playing field or wherever, and we would be called girls. So
mm,
you would hear terms such as you're playing like a girl, you're running like a girl, because like Khadijah said, femininity was seen as less than masculinity. But we now exist in a world where we have athletes like Serena Williams.
Mm,
So playing like a girl is has a totally different meaning. And what
mhm,
we have happening now is because of that challenge to what existed before, a lot of men use violence to compensate now,
mm,
to compensate because now, it's almost with the advancement of women educationally, the economic empowerment of women, you're realizing that these values are outdated, but people are still trying to hold on to them. And how can we hold on to them? Some men use violence to maintain that in relationships, in organizations, and you hear it a lot, on social media and on different platforms.
well, if you are seeking love, then you need to represent love. And I'll give you a little secret, us women, we love those, men who are just snuggly and cuddly and shows that side of them. It's not a turn on when somebody is in your face or putting you down or belittling you. So, I mean, that will just bring the opposite effect. So I really, really support what you all are doing. I really would love to hear more of these stories and you know, share because somebody can connect with this and say, oh, that's how I'm feeling, but I don't have anybody to talk to. And then here's Kevin, here's Khadijah. You can talk to them, you can express yourself. And we are all different. We all come from different walks of life. But at the end of the day, humanity is so important. Feeling safe is so important. Being able to trust the person that you're in the home with is so important.
exactly. And Priscilla, it's not
Mm,
I have to say this because it's just in me. I often think Kevin and I are just two people of a bigger team, of a bigger movement.
mhm,
Our team is, Trisha Basio is also part of our board, and we would have had meetings. Trisha is doing amazing work in terms of Spotlight Initiative and also in terms of a lot of programs engaging men and boys. Nicole, Hendrickson, my
mhm.
co-coordinator, she has been working for years doing a lot of advocacy work. I also like to acknowledge, the academia in terms of, Dr. Gabrielle Hossein, who has been working for years in terms of masculinity and challenging, these ideas and educating a numerous amount of people about, how these are not really in our benefit, as you said earlier, and how we need to change this system. We need to challenge these ideas, and we need to bring forward a more healthy way in which we engage, and especially when it comes to gender.
Mhm.
Because we don't just see gender as men and women. Gender is a framework we stand by. It's the way in which we see the world, how we understand the world. And therefore, if we do identify these customs, these cultures, these social hierarchies that are continuously permeating and leaving us with all of this violence and all of this, hurt. Something has to, change. Something has to evolve, and a difference has to be made.
Yes, and I see little changes are starting to take effect. I noticed the taxi
Mm,
drivers in Trinidad, they are now having uniforms. I mean, it took a while, But, the point is that this platform here is for you all. So you are welcome to come back and have these discussions, invite your colleagues. Let's really make an impact with the pledge. I love that. As soon as I saw it, I said, we have to get this out there. And I just want to shout out to my colleague, Oyango Otieno from Kenya, who is also an advocate for having a safe place to express yourself, learning how to express yourself, learning how to talk to your partner, how to accept if your partner says no. you know
Um,
it's not personal. So wait till you meet him. And we have lots more to talk about in the upcoming future. We're going to put the link for the pledge. And we invite you all to check out this pledge, really read through it, and, think about it. Share it with your friends. And let's make these changes happen for everybody. Good?
Great. Well, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. This
Thank
work
you so
is,
much.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we also have the West Indian Women Network. I'm the founder of that. So, you're more than welcome to post and share, help anybody that you possibly can, because somebody out there is going to just be so grateful. All
thank
right.
you.
This was amazing. I'm so happy. And thank you all for your time and for your work and for your beautiful faces. And much blessings to Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so
God
much
bless
as
as
well.
well.
And best of luck to you as well on your work.
Thank you so, so, so much.